Dolores Cannon with the Metaphysical Hour. And I'm not going to give out the call-in numbers tonight because this show is being taped. And it will probably run, I think, sometime in March. But we'll just go as though there won't be any call-ins tonight anyway. Okay, I have a very special treat tonight. I've got a very old friend of mine, Carol Pate, is the guest. And I've even known each other for many, many years. We go way back, and I've been able to watch her career and the way it has been skyrocketing, and just she's making just leaps and bounds in her work. Now, Carol, I'm going to read a little bit from your website, and then I'll ask you to kind of fill in some. Okay, Carol Pate is a psychic. And in 1991, she was chosen the top female psychic in the United States by the Unicorn World Coordination and by the Tokyo Broadcast System in Japan. Now, Carol goes all over the world. You know, we're close friends, so she tells me a lot about her many adventures. She travels everywhere doing all kinds of investigations and working on many cases. But she has appeared in 3 international television documentaries and worked with all facets of the media, the local, state, and national levels, as well as all over the world. She's appeared as a guest expert on the Geraldo Rivera show, and also on The Other Side, Sightings, Unsolved Mysteries, Beyond Chance, most recently on MSNBC, Abraham's Report, and The Psychic Detectives, and Larry King Live. I didn't realize you'd been on Larry King. That must have been quite an experience.
That was quite an experience. It was really kind of neat.
Because is he as tough as he seems to be?
Well, actually, I was on with Nancy Grace.
Yeah?
Apparently Larry King was in a plane somewhere. So I didn't get to meet with him.
Well, even on that, Nancy Grace seems kind of stern, too.
She was extremely nice.
Is she into these kind of things?
Well, I don't think so. I think it was because Psychic Detectives was coming out on Court TV.
Yeah.
And she was going over one of the cases that I had done for my first Psychic Detective show. Which was about a young man who had disappeared in Malvern, Arkansas.
And so you think she was just kind of going along with it, even though she didn't believe in it?
Well, she appeared to believe in it because, I mean, the police backed up everything. And,
yeah.
And it was a resolved case. So she was actually praising me for my work.
Okay. Because I'm thinking those are kind of tough interviewers to go up against.
Yes, they can be. But
okay, well, yeah, you told me that you were just, when I talked to you last time, you were just going to film for your 6th episode of Psychic Detectives.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did that about 3 weeks ago. In Denton, Texas.
You said that's where the case took place, wasn't it?
That's correct. And it was a great case. I mean, it's not good. Murder is never good, okay?
Yeah.
But the case resolved really, really well. And it was on a murder case where the murderer had moved the victim's body 5 times.
Oh.
And we got a conviction on him.
Okay. Well, what was your part in that?
Well, basically, I had to tell them who had killed the young woman that was the victim, how she was killed, where she was killed, why she was killed, and where she was. And
where the body was located, you mean?
The body never got located.
It never did?
No, because he took her out of state. On the 6th time, he took her out of state. And they would not go across the border or across the state line. But there was enough evidence gathered, plus I was able to tell them who was an eyewitness, where the witness was at that point in time. They flew out, and he was in another state, what his name was and the company that he worked for, and they brought him in, and he was able to testify. And this man got life. the murderer got life.
So he was convicted then?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, do you want to tell the audience how you get this information on the people? It seems like, you just know exactly what they're thinking and where they are. Do you want to tell them how you pick up this information?
Well, basically, I have them send in a photograph to me or a sample of writing and ink. I then use what's known as psychometry. That means putting my hands on the photograph or the sample of writing and then refining and tuning my energy field into matching their signature energy field, which allows me to tune them in like you would a radio.
Uh-huh.
And then I feel in my body what the victim goes through. I hear their thoughts. I know their motive and agenda. And if I can touch into the energy field of the murderer, I then can become one with his signature energy or hers and know their agenda and why they're doing what they're doing.
So you're able to do this by tuning in on the victim?
Yes, on the victim. Now, if the victim sees the perpetrator, I will see the perpetrator.
Oh, like looking through their eyes?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't see the perpetrator, then what I have to have is crime scenes where the victim and the perpetrator's energy are together.
You have to go to the actual scene.
No, I can actually use a photograph.
Oh, that way you can do it that way?
Mm-hmm.
Get the feelings off the pictures, too, then?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Of course, it's a little stronger to actually go to the crime scene itself, to be quite truthful with you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that's not always possible. And time constraint kind of feeds into that. Sometimes it's difficult for me to get away.
Yes, I noticed on your website it says you are consulted on at least 500 murder cases every year.
I was running 2 murder cases every day, 5 days a week.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was too much. It just got too much for me.
I think that would be draining, wouldn't it, on your own, psychic?
It's terrible because I feel what they feel.
Uh-huh.
And it's extremely draining. It can be painful. It's extreme negative energy.
It'd be frustrating, too, wouldn't it?
Oh, sometimes incredibly frustrating.
Well, then you would be what I would call an empath, wouldn't you?
Yes.
But are you able to shake off those feelings afterwards?
Most of the time, yes. Sometimes, no. It depends on how traumatic, how painful the event was.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in one case I got hit by a train, and I think that's the worst feeling I've ever had. It took me hours to shake that off.
You mean while you were experiencing what the person was experiencing?
Yes.
They were hit by a train?
Yes.
No. And you actually felt all of that in your own body then?
Yes. It was horrific.
Be like a shock.
Oh, it was a total body shock.
Because, I work with a lot of healers, too, and they have to learn how to get rid of those, the energy. Otherwise, they take on the symptoms of the person they work with.
Exactly.
And they become ill with it.
Yes, exactly.
So you've learned how to release that after you work on a case?
Yes. On the most part, I can release it. It might stay with me for maybe a half an hour or an hour, but on the most part, I can release it.
But 2 a day, that would be an awful workload.
Well, I've now cut it back to 1 a day. That's all I can do now is 1 a day.
You're still doing 1 a day anyway.
I'm still doing 1 a day.
And these are all over the United States, or what?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, are you consulted by the relatives or by the police?
Both.
Both of them.
I've been getting, I get a lot of police that are calling me up to work on cold cases, cases they haven't been able to resolve. And I've gotten a lot of families call me into cases where they can't go any farther. The police are stuck.
Yes, we have a case right here in Huntsville like that. I don't know if you've ever called in on that.
I don't know.
It went through several court cases, and they still feel justice has not been done.
I'm not aware of that.
It ended up with the father having a heart attack. He just couldn't take the strain of so many court cases and going unsolved for so many years.
Oh.
So sometimes the relatives do get to where they need somebody.
Well, sometimes, if nothing else, just to get some closure in their mind or some resolve. It's so frustrating when you just don't know anything. Mm-hmm. Or you have suspicions, and maybe it's not the right person, or maybe it is.
Yeah, that's with them. They have suspicions, but they've never been able to prove it.
Yeah.
So I guess that happens a lot, too, then.
Well, what I've learned is there are some cases that are not supposed to be solved.
Maybe it's their karma or something?
Yes, exactly.
The parents' karma, I guess.
Well, everyone involved. Maybe the murderer has other people he has to murder.
Well, we know how to think about this, even though a lot of people wouldn't, that everything happens for a reason, even if it's a negative one.
Absolutely.
And we can't help everyone. We can't prevent all these things.
No, we can't. And some of these cases that I get, they're not mine. I'm not supposed to solve them. And when that happens, I won't get very many details on them.
Uh-huh.
When it's my case, I'll be flooded with details.
All the emotions and the feelings of what went on.
Oh, every detail. I'll get like every detail, what they have on, what they're wearing, where they were just before, every detail. And when they're not mine, I have to really fight through to get information.
Because it's not coming that clearly then.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And that's the frustrating one.
But you know how we're so used to watching TV where the police usually just laugh at psychics and don't want to work with them and think it doesn't, it's nothing to it. It sounds like the ones you're working with do believe in it. The policemen, and the agencies. Is that true?
I have had a lot of success in murder cases.
Yeah.
I have a good reputation, and they're usually skeptic when they come to me.
Yeah.
And then when I start giving them information, the skepticism goes away, and then they start listening to me.
Yeah, because you know how some of them are, they want to scoff at it.
Yeah, it's out there.
Well, that shows that maybe they're opening up a lot more to it.
Oh, it's been wonderful.
So that now they are the skeptical about it.
Exactly.
Do you have to, I'm thinking like the movies, you have to prove anything to them by picking up something about them, the policemen?
No, they usually don't want me to go into their heads at all.
I can see why. They definitely wouldn't like that.
Well, on the case that I did for Psychic Detective, the recent one, the police department sent me about 15 pictures, and they simply numbered them, and they asked me to tell them about each one of the individuals, were they connected in the murder, what part did they play, all the details about them, which I did on 15 different pictures.
Were these all involved, or were they just some other ones put in there just to throw you off track?
They were all, how can I put it, one was the murderer, one was a girlfriend, they were various people that actually were around the murderer.
Uh-huh.
Some were involved, some were not.
Okay, I was thinking they might just put some others in there.
Usually that's what